So now we're going to look at some spreadsheets, and spreadsheets is just a way to lay out some data and it can do calculations for you. In the first assignment, you'll see these X's. I don't want you to hand add these things together. We're going to find a way to add them. The computer will add them for us. Okay, and it'll give you some instructions about if it's bold, it should be bold, and note that must be some merged cells, etc. So let's bring in your, form here. Remember, you're going to have a course called computers, and inside there you had one called Google Docs for your documents, and now you have one called Google Sheets for your Google Sheets. So if I open that up, I'm going to create a new Google Sheet. I was sharing this folder, that's why it asked me that. And we'll just kind of bounce back and forth between the question. The question says we're going to be naming this thing Spreadsheet Assignment 1. And so I'm going to do that right away, I think. At the top, Spreadsheet Assignment 1. And let's go back and see what we want to have. I'll do the first little typing in. I'll pause for a second on my video. Okay, so I just typed some of the stuff in, and then we'll do some making it more formatted. So just like in tables in Google Docs, we're going to merge these cells. So we got to find, if you hover, you'll see places where it says merge cells. And if we want, we can then center it as well. And we can make things bold. We can change the size of them just like we did in the other ones. So I can highlight all these guys together if I want to, make them bold. Maybe I'll make them a little bit bigger to stand out as well. Notice I cut this off. I can make this bigger by dragging it. Or I can double click right there and it makes it exactly the width of the longest part. Okay, so I can do the same thing. These look good. Maybe I should make these centered as well so that it looks nice. All right, so we can also add in some grid lines. So if I highlighted all the table, I can add in grid lines in any way I want. I'm going to add them all in so that we can see it easier. And then finally we need to add things together. So we could do this a couple ways. If you want to do a calculation, you're going to type equals. And then you could say whatever's in here plus whatever's in here. That's one way of doing the adding. And the neat thing is that if I change this one to say 50, and as soon as I hit enter, you'll see the total is going to change as well as soon as I hit enter. So it's a dynamic table. It means it doesn't matter what's in here, it's going to automatically add it up. So I can undo, Control Z to undo. If I had said equals 38 plus 37, then if I change one of these numbers, this will never change. So this is kind of nice. I can also do, for adding, I could say equals, there's a function called sum. And I could open up a bracket and say, and just highlight the cells I want to. That'll say the sum from B4 to C4. That means this and this added together. Anything in between will add together. So there's two different ways of doing adding. I can even take this formula, getting tricky here, and get my cursor to go to this little plus sign, and it says copy that formula down. And so it's going to say this one was B4 to C4. Now this one it knows is going to be B5 to C5. So it actually figures out you want to add the two things to its left. And this one is B6 to C6. But wait, we need to add these guys as well, adding vertically. So I could say equals sum, open the bracket, and highlight these three guys. And similarly, and notice that this one changed already. Similar to this one, I could say equals sum, bracket, and highlight these three guys. Almost done. I'm going to say over here, I'm going to rename this to job 1. Because if I'm still working on other stuff, there's no reason to create a new document. I could just say add, and it gives me another sheet, and that one's going to be called, renamed to job 2. In job 2, some of the things are the same, so you can actually copy some of job 1 into job 2, some of the headings or whatever. For this part, to answer some questions, it's kind of hard to do. So what we could do is, I'm going to highlight what's in here. Oops, I'm going to try and highlight what's there. Copy it. And what I could do in my job 2 is, after I get my spreadsheet going, is I can actually insert a drawing. And a drawing's a place where that I can then say, okay, I'll put a little text box. I'm going to paste that stuff in there. That didn't paste very well. I could type the stuff in there that I wanted to, and when I save it, it'll sit nicely on my page, and I can have it anywhere I want on my page. And I can have a background of white if I want to, and all that kind of stuff too. Okay, so I could take my text box and then say, you know what, I think I'll fill it with white. Maybe let's fill it with green just to be different. And so that's something that can sit on your page a little bit easily without having to worry about trying to type it within these lines or cells. Okay. Across the top is our columns, across the bottom side are our rows, and that's a good intro.